Jules Verne, you've done it again. Happy TBR Jar being done within less than a year. I finished reading Jules Verne's Paris in the 20th Century, the lost novel. It was lost for a reason. No, it wasn't. It is about this young man, Michel, I'm going to call him Michael in the story, who just won an award for being a good poet in an age when being a poet is a bad thing. So all his family, his uncle, put him into a bank where they hope his artistic notions will shrivel up and die. Which instead he fails and gets put in the back with other artists who are supposed to have their artistic notions shrivel up and die, and they kind of just form a club and talk about art. This book is very heavy on the philosophy of the usefulness of art, who artists are, what the use of art is. It's set in the 1960s, written in 1860-ish, give or take. And it is very interesting of Jules Verne's idea of what the future will look like, because in some ways he's kind of accurate. People don't read poetry that often. People don't tend to read the classics like that Jules Verne is talking a lot about Victor Hugo, Voltaire, Dumas. And it is very interesting where they talk about the current state of music, literature, art in general. They talk about how the only art form that is acceptable is architecture at that point, and mathematics, and how a lot of art is mathematical at that point of history. So I really did enjoy a lot of these conversations about philosophy, about what's going to happen to art, to literature, to theater, to music, to war, even. I really was enjoying this book up until the ending, where I felt like Jules Verne copped out. I gave this book 3 stars, which is better than how I felt at the end of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but about the same amount as how I felt at the end of Around the World in 80 Days. I didn't really like any of the characters. I did like the pianist, musician dude that Michael becomes friends with, Quinsonis. And I do think this is a dystopian novel. I think if you like classic dystopian, this might be something you're interested in reading. To give some spoilers for a second, I will properly mark it so you can skip it over if this book sounds interesting to you. I felt like Michael dying in the end was a cop-out. I felt like Jules Verne just didn't know where else to go with the story. He didn't know how to write a happily ever after for Michael and Lucy. Having Michael die, just by giving up, basically, was disappointing for me, and really why this book was going to be a solid 4 stars until the endings kept getting closer and closer, and I just was like, I could feel it coming. I was like, he's gonna kill off Michael. There's no way this book can end without that. Disappointing. End of spoilers. I was disappointed by this book for various reasons. I mean, I didn't even really like a lot of the characters. I did find his friends to be interesting, but the uncles, the love interest Lucy, Michael himself were pretty boring to me. I felt the world building was quite interesting, and the philosophy, of course, is interesting to me. Would I recommend this book? If you like Jules Verne, yes. If you like world building, yes. If you are a history buff, this might also be interesting to you to see what someone in the 1860s in France was thinking was going to happen. Like, this was written around the same time as, like, the Civil War, and it's about the 60s. There's stuff in this book that doesn't feel like the 60s. It doesn't feel doesn't feel modern, it doesn't feel groovy. And there's reason for that, obviously. But it's also quite fun because of that. There's quite a lot of stuff he missed still. It's fun to see what he missed, what he didn't miss, what he thought would be a thing, and stuff that isn't a thing. There's a lot of stuff about capitalism and industrialism and art and how that has to go in with all of it. which I just think is really interesting. And I'm really glad I did read this. I really did enjoy reading it. I'm not going to keep it, and I was disappointed in the ending. But it's short, and it's interesting. And if you like Jules Verne, or you like stuff that I mentioned in this book, in this review, it might be really worth checking out. At least from the library, and trying it out. So, having finished Paris in the 20th Century, NaNoWriMo is just about to begin, so I don't know I'm going to finish reading my next TBR Jar book, but I figured let's pick it out, and we'll read it when we finish it, you know? Finish it when we read it. We do it. We'll get it done. Someday. Which of these should we do? Left or right? We got Shakespeare. We got Venus and Adonis by William Shakespeare. It's one of the few Shakespeare plays that I haven't read. And I actually was hoping to get to another Shakespeare play before the end of this year, because I try and read like 2 a year until I'm out of them, you know. But also I have no idea what Venus and Adonis is about. I can deduce using my little gray cells. Ow, I used up all of them. That Venus and Adonis, it's probably going to be based on Roman mythology. This is like 20 pages. Yep, it's super short. Okay, but I probably wouldn't have read it unless TBR Jar. So, join me next time, probably in December, or later if this video comes out in December, when I read Venus and Adonis. You can read it too. Tell me if you've read it before, what you think of it. And if you haven't read it, tell me what your favorite Shakespeare play is. Or have you read Paris in the 20th Century? Did you like it? Do you like Jules Verne? Because I am not a huge fan of Jules Verne. Like, I always thought I liked Jules Verne, but time has told a different story for me. If you liked this video specifically, you can hit the like button. If you like TBR Jar videos, hit that notification bell. And if you would like to leave a comment, you can talk about something that I just mentioned, or you can talk about something completely different, or have a question about either Venus and Adonis or Paris in the 20th Century. Currently, my TBR Jar has this many books in it. So I'm making some progress, you know? It's fun. It's great. I love this project of mine. And I hope you're having a lovely afternoon and are reading good books. Bye. Up, down to the ending. You give me my shot, Ginger.